Introducing King David Evans.
And last time we saw David Evans get in the cage, he battled it out with Frank the Korean Catastrophe Park. And a very comedy guy. I mean, he's really funny. He was like quoting Bruce Lee quotes, going "Wata."
right. But you know what? It's funny when you have your first professional fight against a guy like Frank Park. You got to use anything you possibly can.
Sure.
Because that's a tough guy to come out in your first pro fight against. Those guys are well trained. You know, stable partner of Henry Corrales, who's fighting tonight for a title belt. But this kid has some tools.
Yeah.
You know, he's from the MASH Academy. He's around some great guys. This will be a little better test for him. A little bit more of an even matchup to be able to showcase his skills.
Absolutely, and obviously, it's so funny because I remember when Frank Park made his debut, they threw him into the Lions too, but he prevailed and he knocked out John Cole. Me and you called that fight, and you know, John Cole was a veteran at that time.
Right, you know, it's funny how stuff happens. You don't really know what's going to happen in your first fight. There's so many other factors involved with stepping up to this level of a show from amateurs or from smaller shows, to be in a casino, to be able to rise to the occasion, you know?
Absolutely, and of course, you know, the crowd makes a difference. I'm sure the jitters, you know, getting in there. I mean, you're just dealing with the bigger crowd when you come to King of the Cage as well.
Right, especially being 3,000 miles from Detroit or wherever we are, just getting used to that travel, trying to sleep in a foreign place, getting the right foods. It's something that really needs you need practice doing. And you generally don't get that till 15, 20 fights deep in your career.
Well, you know, the great thing is, you know, David Evans obviously got the loss out of the way. So I'm sure to him, it's like, hey, I've been there, I've done that, I've been here, and I'm ready to do it again. And obviously training with the likes of James Lee over at Team Match. Like you said, those are some tough SOBs out there, man. Right. They are so tough.
You know, it's funny, you take a beat and you really decide if this is really what you want to do as a profession.
Yeah, you get mashed up, dude.
Here is David Mitchell.
Well, there he is, David Mitchell, a matchup in the welterweight division, making his way to the cage here tonight. And like I said, this is like a really stacked card. I mean, we see Melvin Costa on it, Johnny Cisneros. That's just going to be an absolute stand-up war later tonight. And of course, Jared Spoon out of Oklahoma State, going to utilize his wrestling skills against Henry Corrales. Henry Corrales is obviously so explosive. I mean, we've talked about this before. I mean, while his opponents are touching gloves, you know, he's already taking you down.
Yeah, I heard you say that on the intro on hogging all of the TV time, so we don't need to talk about that. I thought we got CC out of here, but obviously you're his protege, so. Yeah, he's lightning fast. This guy, you know, David Corrales, he's quick, he's aggressive, he ends his fights quickly. It's going to be exciting to see. But Jared Spoon comes from a high-level Division I wrestling background out of Oklahoma. He's ready to go the distance, and I'm not quite sure that Henry Corrales is. He's never really been deep into the third round or even deep into the second round, so it's going to be interesting in the 25-minute fight. But we look at David Mitchell and David Evans coming up right now. David Mitchell coming in for his first professional fight. And this will give you a chance for us to really see what David Evans has. To come in with a guy who's obviously training with some really good jiu-jitsu guys. And we'll see what he has to bring to the table.
I'll buy you a camera for Christmas. How about that? As much camera time as you want.
Hey, I don't want any camera time. Just throw my face on TV. That's all I need.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the San Manuel Indian Bingo and Casino, Highland, California, King of the Cage and Lucas Oil presents the Battle of Davids, scheduled for 3 rounds in the welterweight division. Your referee in charge of the action, Mike Beltran. Introducing first, in the Lucas Oil blue corner, standing 6'1", official weight 169 pounds. He represents 36 Deadly Chambers, Courageous MMA, and James Lee's MASH Fight Team. Ladies and gentlemen, from the Detroit, Michigan, presenting King David Evans. His opponent across the cage, fighting out of the Lucas Oil red corner, stands at 5 feet 8 inches tall. Official weight, 170.2 pounds. He represents Sequence MMA. Ladies and gentlemen, from Globe, Arizona, presenting David Mitchell. Once again, your referee, Mike Beltran, for the final instructions. 3 rounds of welterweight action scheduled.
All right, gentlemen, been over the rules already. Protect yourself at all times. Obey my commands at all times. Touch gloves now if you want. At the sound of the bell, come on out and handle your business. Let's go.
Well, I tell you what, Steve, David Mitchell is a monster 170-pounder. And being from Globe, Arizona, we don't really realize, but it's high up there. I went to a fight up there one time and couldn't breathe walking up the steps, and I thought I was in shape. So I bet you this kid has some lungs and he's ready to go.
Yeah, you know, dealing with the likes of Mark Munoz and the guys over at Sequence, it's really good to have those guys in your corner.
Oh, good 2 quick punches. Quick jab by David Evans, steps in. But on the takedown is David Mitchell.
And then a nice reverse there by David Evans, working him up against the fence.
Now, obviously, David Evans is going to be overpowered by Mitchell if Mitchell can get low and really work on getting it back to the ground, because he ate a stiff jab and some redness under his eye already. Double underhooks going, snatching up that single goes Mitchell. Mitchell needs to turn the corner and really work, trying to get the work on that double. Switching is up to a double, see if he can change elevation, but David Evans doing a good job for temporarily, then gets taken down to the ground.
Absolutely, his persistence paid off there.
Well, being from Sequence, this is where David Mitchell's really going to shine. These guys are really good on the ground. They hold great position. Working on a key lock is David Evans, and see if he's going to be able to power that thing out of there. What he's going to need to do is put a foot on the hip and use those legs as some leverage to be able to get him out of there. But giving it up, David Mitchell goes back to just laying on top, thinking about trying to pass the guard, but using good underhooks is David Evans. Those long limbs, Steve, are really, really difficult to deal with.
Yeah, you know, speaking of which, later on tonight, that's going to be probably the toughest thing for Joshua Vilas, is the limbs of Christopher Armbruster. So we're going to see a lot of that tonight, but right now, Mitchell doing everything he can to pass the guard here.
Not really working too much, asking for some actions, the referee. What really needs to happen is Mitchell needs to post up, soften him up with some punches to the body and to the head. Going high guard is David Evans, trying to possibly set up an arm bar, but eats a left hand to be able to soften him up a little bit. Mitchell's corner asked him to work, but doing a great job as David Evans of tying up hands, just not absorbing too much punishment from this position.
You know, Mike Beltran obviously going to stand him up. He's like so close. There we go.
And you called it, Steve. If there's not enough action, he's going to stand you right up. And the taller fighter, David Evans, comes forward, tries an inside kick, and immediately gets taken down. But doing a good job of getting back to his feet.
Mitchell persistent with the takedown once again, and Evans is not having it, but he's going to end up getting it and get into the half guard here.
Yeah, just absolutely overpowered. There wasn't a whole lot of technique. Evans was doing a good job with that wide stance, but just got overpowered by Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the size difference there. I mean, he was probably packing on some pounds after the weigh-ins there, you know?
Right. He looks to be about 190 right now.
Yeah.
But in half guard is Mitchell now. See if he can work just softening up that body. Trying to sneak that leg through. Looks like he's possibly going to be able to get through, but reclosing that guard is David Evans.
And you can hear the corner saying that you got to stay busy there. Obviously, you don't want it to stand back up here.
Yeah, what needs to happen here is Mitchell really needs to work on getting some space, which he's not doing. Evans is doing a great job of controlling his posture. And there he goes, posturing up, but holding on is Evans and not absorbing too much punishment.
You think one of the fighters may be confused because they're both named David?
David, do this.
I am. David, do this, do that. Well, Evans knows that he needs to win this fight. This is a very important fight for him to win if he wants to continue to stay in the ranks here at King of the Cage.
Yeah, he really needs to take a hip here, try and get off his back. As soon as I said that, he got on his right hip, but he needs to do something with it. You know, at this point, he's just holding on, and David Mitchell really isn't doing too much to try and pass, because he could pull that leg out right now through this open guard. And there he is, posturing up, delivering some bombs, not really connecting on too many of those, but the crowd's going nuts for that kind of an action.
Yeah, they really are begging for it, and it keeps Mike Beltran from standing him up for a couple more seconds here.
Right, he has an opportunity to work. He's trying to completely pass, but he's trying to pass at the wrong time. Beltran is standing him up again.
You know, and after a while, Beltran, the refs will catch on to that, obviously, when they're going to be sitting there and, you know, constantly taking it to the ground. He's not going to be as lenient as time goes by.
Right, and just a half-hearted shot there at the end by Mitchell, who's breathing out of his mouth, gasping for air. You know, David Evans at this point really needs to be able to establish some distance.
Yeah.
You know, Mitchell closes the distance and just mauls him, not doing too much, absorbing no punishment, but winning the fight. You know, the guy on top, if he can stay on top, even though he doesn't throw one punch, is going to win the fight.
Controlling it, yeah, absolutely. Well, remember, King of the Cage Terror Fight is being brought to you in part by Lucas Oil and MAV TV. We're here at San Manuel Indian Bingo and Casino in Highland, California. And for more information on your favorite fighters and more, schedule, rankings, and all that stuff, you can log on to mavtv.com or log on to kingofthecage.com. Steve Inman joined along with Sean Canova. And man, I'm like a little kid today. I'm so excited to see these fights happen, man.
Boy, I'll tell you what, from the top 4 fights, top 5 fights, we have some huge names on this card, and it's just going to be action-packed.
Yeah, I mean, if they spread it out over a couple months, those are main events. Each one of those.
Absolutely,
you know?
absolutely.
Well, here we go into round 2. David Evans was controlled in round 1. We'll see if he was able to talk with his corner and change things up a bit, but David Mitchell just overpowering him.
Evans charges forward, see if he can circle. There, he's a good job.
Oh.
And a great high kick. Closing the distance immediately is Mitchell.
Yeah, there was some punch to that, man.
Trying to work a key lock here is Evans, and he might have it if he can grab his own arm to be able to step around. He traps that arm, trying to soften him up. He should pay attention to that takedown, though, because Evans is exhausted, and he's turning his back, eating some punches, trying to snatch a right hand back up, but gets low on a double. If he could just pull Evans out of here, he's going to be able to finish this double, but I don't know, Steve, if he has a gas.
Yeah, I think Evans is finding a niche here. He's like, when you're going to take, oh, he's bleeding already, too. Sean didn't even see that.
Wicked cut. He may have gotten that from that kick, and laying the wood to him now is Evans.
Oh, great job by Evans.
Evans with great hips. You can see his athleticism coming into play. He smells blood and is dropping bombs with that left hand.
Absolutely.
Trying to finish this fight is Evans, doing a good job of just staying busy with that left hand. Mitchell's trapped up in there. Evans is just smashing, delivering elbows. He's in jeopardy of being stopped. Mitchell trying to get back to his feet, and Evans just not letting him off of the cage. Evans just smashing with that left hand. Mitchell's corner begging him to fight back, but relentless on that takedown is Mitchell.
And of course, the tiredness is obviously not helping him in this situation, but gets a nice takedown though.
And there's a good trip, body snatch, ends up in the half guard. Let's see if Mitchell can do some work.
Yeah, that's the beauty of MMA, Sean. You know, 1 second a guy is just dominating the fight, and then the crafty fighter comes out of nowhere and finishes it. And Mitchell is just not going to give up that quickly.
And he's in the mount now and doing a good job of reversing it. Almost gets snatched in an armbar as Evans. Evans back to his feet going, okay, stand up. I'm letting you up. We're gonna do this stand-up style, mano-a-mano. And trying to connect with that jab, which is great technique, is Evans. In for a sloppy shot is Mitchell, and good knees to the body.
Yeah, Evans
dropping the
definitely making him
knees. Evans doing a good job of backing up and just delivering lumber.
This is close, Sean.
Oh, and a great body knee from Evans. But not going away quietly is Mitchell. David Mitchell trying to snatch up a double, see if he can get it back to the ground.
Mitchell kind of in survival mode right now.
And just giving up this takedown is Evans. Mitchell doing a good job of smothering. Evans decided it's time for him to get up. And he's dropping bombs. And there goes Mitchell again.
Mitchell's become the Terminator, man. You can't put him away. He's coming back constantly with the takedown, but obviously exerting a lot of energy in the midst of it.
Well, this is where fight experience really comes into play, to be able to work from this position, regain your composure, catch some air, get some oxygen back into your lungs, and deliver some punishment. Because if Mitchell can deliver some work here, he could steal this round.
Obviously, Mitchell getting a little bit tired here. A little more difficult to be able to create some space there, but...
And he's doing a great job just lumbering punches and connect with a good solid left. Dropping some elbows on Evans now. Sometimes it takes your own blood to really figure out that you're in a fight, and that's exactly what Mitchell is doing. He's bashing back.
You feel that adds more pressure when you have that cut, knowing that it could be stopped, not being able to see it?
No, because you never know how big that cut is.
Sure.
You know, some guys are bleeders, some guys are not bleeders. I'm sure in the gym he's bled a little bit, and you don't even notice it. You think that it's wet. Trying to step over on a leg lock goes Mitchell, but in jeopardy of his own heel hook, and I don't know, that's kind of dangerous with some of James Lee's guys. Doing a good job of rolling out of it is Mitchell.
Yeah, James Lee infamous for the heel hook.
Oh, and a beautiful takedown. David Mitchell with two solid takedowns in this round. Might have just taken this round back.
Mitchell just smothering Evans, but you know, I'm really impressed by Mitchell. As tired as he is, as many shots as he's taken, he's still kind of controlling this on the ground.
Right, you know, there's 10 seconds left, and this round's gonna end with Mitchell on top, passing the guard. I'll tell you what, Steve, this is a back and forth fight.
Sure.
You know, you never know what the judges are seeing. You know, they're obviously seeing blood, but looking at this fight, at the end, Mitchell had two solid takedowns, controlled the ground, delivered punishment, even though he's bleeding like a stuffed pig with a nasty cut.
Sure, yeah.
In my book, he won that round.
Yeah, I mean, and that's frustrating for Evans because Evans was teeing off a bit, almost had a chance to finish it, but that just tells you the cardio and the fitness of David Mitchell, but obviously he is tired, but he's working numb right now, man.
Yeah, you know what's funny is he's gotten more tired as this round goes on. He's starting to win this fight.
Yeah.
The more tired he gets, the more aggressive he gets. In the first round, he didn't do anything, and he had nothing but win. Now he's deep into the second round, and he's bashing David Evans.
Well, the good news is that the cut isn't going to stop this fight, so Mitchell is going to get a chance, but
Ladies and
you never
gentlemen,
know how deeper that cut
put
can
your
get
hands
over time as
together.
well,
This
too.
is the third
Right, but when you're on
and
top and you're
final
smothering,
round.
the odds are in your favor. If Evans can stay on his feet, really establish that jab that he's been trying to establish, and use his athleticism and his fitness level to stay up top, he'll win this fight. But right now, it's probably dead even going into third and final 5-minute round. Coming out southpaw is Evans.
To avoid these takedowns, is staying on the inside or on the outside more suitable, I'd have to say here?
Well, for Evans, he needs to really establish that jab, getting that 1-2. That's a good job moving away, pushing him off, but he needs to make Mitchell pay, and that just half-hearted Superman punch jumping in probably cost him this fight.
Yeah, absolutely, and Mitchell is just taking advantage of the situation as he continues to pass the guard and get the full mounted position here, Sean. But does he have enough energy to do anything?
You know, his size at this point right now is a massive advantage because both guys are tired. And size for size, Mitchell is much larger than Evans. And Evans exploding out of the bottom. As soon as I say that and goes, what? This guy's not stronger than me.
Yeah, he totally did
he
that.
might come over and give me a beat down after this 15 minutes just for saying that.
And he's going to flow like water, too. David Evans trying to start something here, but really needs to take advantage of any situation at this point because this fight could go to Mitchell if Mitchell continues to stay on top of him.
Right, doing a good job of reversing it, trying to get his own takedown of his own is David Mitchell. David Evans trying to use the 27th door for some kind of a weird jiu-jitsu judo throw, but didn't quite work. Trying to flatten out Mitchell now, not working. The strength of Mitchell is coming into play. Neither guy are really throwing punches.
This really is like a test of cardio between these guys. Whoever's been working on their cardio could possibly end up.
You know, at this point right now, Steve, it's nothing but heart.
Yeah.
Nothing but heart and size. Going into half guard now is Mitchell. Let's see if he can work here. I wouldn't be so concerned about passing the guard as much as doing damage. Raising up, throwing solid punches. And trapping the arm now is Mitchell. In a bad situation is Evan. Getting bashed from Mitchell.
And the fans are begging for it, Sean. They want to see this.
David Mitchell just giving it up. I don't know if he's thinking of trying to work a choke or if he's just trying to hang on and get some breath. But he's going to get stood up here. If he can finish this fight from this position, raining punches, he'll win this fight, 100%. What needs to happen now, he needs to put his hand or his forearm on Evans' face, create some distance, and really posture up and deliver some solid blows. Because this is getting stood up here in about 3 seconds. And there's some good left hands. Backing away now is the referee.
Mitchell continuing to pass the guard here. And I believe if he does get in the full mounted position, Evans can find himself in a world of trouble unless he does that.
And Evans looks like he was just waiting for that to happen. Baited him into taking guard. This is the third time he did that.
Now punishing him for his efforts, Sean.
Yeah, you know, Evans is just bashing with that left elbow. And this fight is so close. Whoever ends up on top is really going to win this fight. Evans doing a good job of dropping elbows. I'll tell you what, Steve, that's the difference between these two guys' top position, is when Evans on top, he's throwing big punches trying to end the fight. When Mitchell's on top, he's throwing short rabbit punches that nobody can see.
Sure. And then, of course, Beltran is, going to stand him up here. Beltran is, very anxious to be able to stand him up but Evans doing everything he can to stay busy. Beltran has seen enough, and they will get a fresh start. I wouldn't say fresh because they're tired, but
I'll tell you what, this is the fight right here. This last 40 seconds might determine who wins this fight.
Sure, if Evan threw another one of those knees, he could possibly steal the win here.
Evan's doing a good job of stuffing that shot, but he needs to let his hands go. Whoever lets their hands go here, they're going to win this fight. Coming in for a shot is Mitchell. And there's that knee you were asking for, Steve.
Sure.
David Evans just dropping knees.
Yeah.
May have gone low on one.
Oh. And you hate to see that right when there's about only 30 seconds left. Well, you know what? Both fighters are going to get a nice break out of this. Chance to recover here.
Dave's corner, Mitchell's corner, asking him to get up, walk it off.
Easier said than done, right?
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be able to walk off 100% of his maximum heart rate for the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, very tough.
This ends up being a 30-second fight. Whatever happens in this next 30 seconds is going to determine who wins this fight. And there's a straight right hand and a good left hook just missing by Mitchell. Somebody needs a progressive. I heard 10 seconds, and there's a high kick by Mitchell.
Trying. Why not get one last takedown is what Mitchell was trying to do there.
Is.
And an excellent matchup between these two fighters in the welterweight division. They gave it their all. Evans obviously landing a couple nice shots there in round 2, which almost looked like the end of Mitchell, but Mitchell hung on there, and we will see what the judges will come up with as they render a decision.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, David Mitchell's a tough kid, and he was in this fight the entire time. You know, I had him counted out there for a little bit in the second round, but he turned it around. Who knows what's going to happen?
Well, obviously a great job done by Evans, a great job done by Mitchell. We will see what happens here. And King of the Cage is being brought to you in part by Lucas Oil. We're here at San Manuel Indian Bingo and Casino in Highland, California for King of the Cage, Terrified. So obviously James Lee in the corner of David Evans, and I'll tell you what, they are one of the funniest camps.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 rounds of hard-hitting welterweight action here in Highland, California, we go to the judges' scorecards. Judge at cage side, Mark Davidson, scores this bout 29-28 in favor of Evans. Derek Cleary, 29-28 in favor of Mitchell. And finally, Cecil Peoples, 29-28 in favor of your winner by split decision from the D, Detroit, Michigan, King David Evans.
And an excellent fight between those two. Like you said, it could have went either way, and it absolutely did go that anyway.
Yeah, you know, I had this fight close.